So if you only need one of them, you just need the pepper. Do you ask for the salt or pass the salt and the pepper? True or false? True or false? You should always pass both the salt and the pepper, even if only one is requested. True or false? I need to hear you.
False.
False. Anything else? That's actually a true. You want to pass both the salt and the pepper together, and we just say they're a couple, and they travel the table together. Why do you want to do that? Why would that make any sense? I'll tell you. So that way you don't have the salt on this end of the table, the pepper on this end of the table, and everybody's trying to find it, okay? So you just pass them together, and it makes it easy for everyone. All right, you should excuse yourself if you must leave the table during a meal. True or false? True, true. It's okay to burp at the table throughout the meal as long as you say excuse me every time you do so. True or false? Well, we want to avoid audible burps at the table, please. So if it slips out and you want to say excuse me, but avoid burping at the table when you can. All right. Always use your bread plate to the left. True or false? I want to hear you on this one, guys. True or false? Always use your bread plate to the left.
True.
True. That's right. Your bread plate on the left. True or false? Sit up straight. Keep your elbows off the table, especially when you're eating.
True.
True. True. Your water glass and wine glasses are located to the right of your plate. True or false?
True.
What's that? True or false? Your glasses are on the right.
True, right?
True. In order to make later that you finished your meal, place your fork and knife back on the table where they were before. True or false?
True.
When you're done eating, put your fork and knife back on the table. True or false? False. And I'll tell you why. It's similar to the reason why you don't put your napkin when you're done in the center of your plate, because we want to make sure that our surroundings, our area, stay as clean and pristine as possible, right? So we don't want to have our dirty utensils on the table. Once we pick them up and use utensils, they never go back on the table directly or on the tablecloth, okay? So what we'll do is use the language of the silver, and I'm going to teach you the language of the silver today, okay? And that's how you place your utensils once you're done using them. Okay, I have a couple more. I'm not going to do all of these. Let's see. In American style dining, it is proper to switch your fork to your right hand and bring the food to your mouth. American style dining, true or false?
True.
That is true. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more when we go over how to use our utensils, which we're going to do first, because I know you want to eat. It smells good. Mine smells good over here. Like, it smells so good. All right. If you do not like a certain type of food or you have dietary restrictions, it is proper to explain in elaborate detail to everyone at the table why this is so. True or false?
False.
False. All right. Nobody needs to know that you don't do broccoli because it makes you gassy, right? We want to avoid that conversation. All right. So if you do have a special diet, or especially if you have a food allergy, what you'll want to do is let your host, and we'll talk about it now, the host or hostess know ahead of time that you have this dietary restriction. That way they can plan ahead and they're not trying to find something at the very last minute because you're sitting there and you can't eat anything that they have either prepared for you or whatever, right? So if you are vegetarian, if you're vegan, and that is something that, you'll want to let them know if it becomes an issue. So a lot of times, If you go to a steakhouse, there are still options for you as a vegetarian or as a vegan that will work. And so part of etiquette is making others feel comfortable. I'm getting a little ahead of my slides, but this is part of the conversation here, okay? So the definition of etiquette is the art of making others around you feel comfortable, okay? So with that said, if you are asked about a special diet or if you're asked about something, let them know. If you have a real, like, you know, it's not something that you don't like, but if you have an allergy, it's important to let the host know ahead of time, okay? And you can do that without being dramatic about it. Just, you know, let them know, and we can go from there. So once you receive maybe an invitation to dinner in someone's home. Now, it's not necessary if you're going to a restaurant, because you can probably choose something that is that will work for you, and you're able to choose off of the menu. But it's really important if a host is making something in their home. So how do you know if a person is a host? How do you know if a person is a host? I want to hear from you on this one. How do you know if a person is a host?
They're sitting at the head of the table.
Yeah, that's one. They're sitting at the head of the table. But how did they get there?
They invite you to the party.
That's right. That's right. So the host is the person that does the invitation. So the host invites. So if you invite someone to dinner or to lunch, even, you know, at your age now, that makes you the host in a business or a formal situation, right? If you're going with your friends and everybody knows that they're gonna, you know, split the bill, fine. However, in a business scenario, in a formal scenario, if you invite, you what? If you invite, you do what? I want to hear you.
Hey.
Hey, you invite, you pay. So be prepared to pay, okay? If you invite someone in business, even if you invite the CEO of an organization, of a company, to lunch or dinner, or your mentor, if you invite them, be prepared to pay. Now, they probably won't let you, right? They'll probably say, oh no, I'll take it. But you need to be prepared, because technically you are set up to need to pay. That means if you invite someone, then you choose a restaurant that is within your budget. And that means you go and look at the menu, not what you normally do, because sometimes people just go to restaurants and they get a couple appetizers and that they call that a meal. Go to a menu online maybe and look at, okay, what does an appetizer, a meal, a dessert, and a drink cost, right? What's an average? Because that person may order it all. So you want to be prepared to pay for you, whatever you order, and them, all the things that they may order. They may not, you know, necessarily be within the lines of etiquette, right? So they're not taking cues from you, and the tax and the tip, right? So you want to make sure that you have enough money to pay for all of that before you suggest a restaurant. That's just a little tip that will save you along the way in this journey called life. All right. All right. So if you are a guest, true or false, here's another one. If you are a guest, you should order, let's see. Hold on. I'm trying to see past the thing here. 1 second. If you are a guest, you should order the most expensive item on the menu, as it demonstrates good taste. If you're a guest, do you want to order the most expensive things on the menu? I want to hear ya.
No.
No, don't do that, guys. You know, so if there's a steak restaurant and you want the surf and the turf, right? Do that on your own time, unless, of course, the host says, you know what? Now, one of the ways that you can find out kind of what the host is thinking as far as dollar amount of a meal is kind of ask them what they're ordering, what they're thinking. So you get your menu and you guys are looking at menus and they say, you can ask them, this all looks really amazing. What do you suggest? Or what are you having today? And so then if they say, since it's lunch, I'm just having a salad. And, then that you want to order something that is not only in that price range of that salad, but then also within the same preparation time, and it takes about the same amount of time to eat as them, okay? Because if you're in business, say for instance, your boss invites you to lunch, and they're having something quick to go, not to go, but they're, eating a salad, then what you want to do is, what you don't want to do is be the person that orders the chicken breast with the this and the that and all the things, right? Because it's going to hold up the process of the entire meal. In business especially, time is what?
Money.
Money, right? Time is money. And so someone that is really busy may only have a certain amount of time allotted for the meal, okay? So you want to make sure that you're not ordering something that takes a long time, because it's just rude. It's not the best thing to do, all right? And we'll talk a little bit about soup, and we'll talk about all this other stuff later. Okay, so we've had a lot more people join, so I think we'll move on. Etiquette, as I mentioned before, is the art of making others feel comfortable. Have you ever been like me? Because listen, I am a recovering awkward person, okay? So there have been times where, you do something that's like not within the rules of etiquette, like that wasn't right. And then, that made somebody else feel uncomfortable, so you feel uncomfortable and everybody's just awkward. Am I the only one that's had that moment, that experience? No? Okay. So what I'm going to do today is kind of teach you the rules of the game to help you with those awkward moments. Okay. So we're going to try to awkward proof your life. The word etiquette is derived from the French word, and it means ticket. And what do tickets do? They provide us access. We're able to walk through doors with our ticket that otherwise we may not be able to walk through. And Albert Einstein says you have to learn the rules of the game, and you have to play better than anyone else. And so I'm going to teach you some of the rules of the dining etiquette game today, okay? We're going to learn the game today. All right, so let's get started. Okay, napkins. Everybody have a napkin? Doesn't have to be, an expensive napkin. It can be a paper napkin. It can be a paper towel. It's all right. Okay, I see a couple napkins. Right on. So, a couple things about the napkins. Once you are seated, you want to place the napkin in your lap. But let's talk about it before we do it, okay? When to place the napkin in your lap, we want to fold the napkin in half. But is there a specific way that we place the napkin in our lap? Well, but of course, it's etiquette. So we'll talk about that in a second. Most of the time, you will find your napkin on the left side. So I don't know if you can see this here. Maybe not. My napkin is here on the left side of my plate. Sometimes it is in the center of your plate when you sit down. Sometimes it is, in your glass. Sometimes it's folded like a swan, but you'll find your napkin. That's the easiest part to find, is your napkin, okay? Usually it's going to be on the left side, rarely on the right, okay? So once you find your napkin, is it appropriate to take the napkin and be like, woo, yes, I can't wait to eat. Woo! Is that it? Is that the best way to do it? All right, so what we want to do with our napkin is gingerly take it from wherever it is, right? And we fold the napkin in half. Now you can fold it two ways. You can fold it this way, long ways. You can fold it diagonally. That's fine too, okay? And then you take that crease, the crease of the napkin, place it in your lap with the crease in your body, near your belly button, okay? And then you use your napkin from there, okay? Now there's two ways of doing this. So you can do it with the crease facing you, or you can do it with the crease away from you. And if you do it with a crease away from you, then you can use it this way. So I need full participation on this, guys. All right, we're gonna learn how to use our napkin right now. Okay. Yeah, just not like that. I see everybody. All right, so we take our index finger. We place the napkin over our index finger and we what? And I'm gonna stop sharing our screen here. We take the napkin, we place it over our index finger and we dab, dab. Come on, everyone. Take your mutes off. I wanna hear you, everybody. Dab with me now. We dab, dab, dabbing. Now, okay, so said, Thomas, you have a point. I think that what I saw. So there is another dab, and you do this dab for your sneeze and your cough. All right.
I was coughing. I'm sorry.
All right. Well, you had it right. Okay. This is a dab for your cough and for your sneeze. Okay. Cool. So ready? We do one more dab, 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 and then we take it when we're done, and we fold that part of the napkin down. And we make sure that we have another clean part. And why don't we fold it down? So why do you think we fold that part of the napkin down that we've used?
So we don't use it again.
Yeah, so you don't use it again, and to keep everything looking clean. So if you've got sauce all over your napkin or all over your face, then it's gonna be in this little small area and not all over the napkin, okay? And then when you're done, you just use another part and dab, dab. Now, the napkin, if it is under your lap, then you just take your little parts of your napkin and you fold it back together, okay? So what this actually looks like in practice, right? When you're actually doing it, as you dab, dab, fold it, and place it back, right? So it's not as dramatic as I showed before, okay? Good, good. Any questions about the napkin? Right on. So we're gonna go back to sharing our screen right quick. And let's see. All right. We want to make sure the napkin it looks clean. Excuse yourself from the table. So if you need to excuse yourself from the table, what you'll want to do is how do you do it? You tell me how you do it. How do you excuse yourself?
Excuse me?
Real simple. That's it. Just excuse me. You don't have to tell everybody, where you're going, what you're doing, why you're gone so long. Just excuse me. That'll get it done, right? So where do you put your napkin when you are coming back? You're excusing yourself and you're coming back. Where do you put it?
Your lap.
On the stage.
Does Natalie ask me for?
I couldn't understand. So what you'll do is when you're finished, when your napkin, just place it in your chair. Now, that is, kind of pre-COVID-y, right? So traditionally. So we're teaching traditional, and then we're kind of also we're talking about COVID rules now too, okay? So traditionally, if you are in a formal dining situation, if you're dining in someone's home, you will put your napkin in your chair, the seat of your chair, when you are leaving to excuse yourself and come back. These days, I would recommend that you place the napkin still on your chair, but either on the back of the chair or on the arm of the chair if there is one, simply because we want to just avoid, unnecessary extra germs if we can, okay? Does that make sense? Also, since we have talked a little bit about kind of the modifications that we're doing due to COVID, we want to make sure that we never have our mask on the table, okay? It's awkward. We're all trying to figure out how to navigate this new life, right? With all this new stuff that we carry around with us. But we want to avoid putting the mask on the table for a number of reasons, but tell me one reason why we want to avoid putting the mask on the table.
Because
Yeah.
there's a lot of germs.
Germs on the table.
Yeah, germs. You're getting the germs, one, from your mask, because you've been all around, and you're right, AJ, dirty. You've been all around, and then you made your way to the restaurant, and now all of the germs that blocked from getting into your body, they're now on the outside of that mask. So try to put that mask elsewhere. If that you have a little bag for it, and you put it under your chair, that is fine. If you have a purse, it's better just to have a little bag for it, though, so that you can put it in the bag and you don't spread the germs. And most restaurants are doing a good job with the new COVID life, but you also want to avoid whatever germs may have hit that table before you got there. Okay, so that's another thing to keep in mind. Cell phones, that's always been a thing. Do we want to have our cell phones on the table while we're dining? No, I know. It's like, it's a part of you. It's like literally an appendage on your body. I understand. Mine is with me all the time. It's here right now. But having the phone on the table sends a non-verbal message. What do you think the message is that it sends to other people if you have your phone on the table? Unmute. Go ahead, Anthony.
The message is that you're not interested in them, you don't care, that they are not the primary focus when you're eating with them.
Right on. That's exactly right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, good stuff, guys. All right, so let's get back to this food because it's smelling good. I'm telling you. I don't know, like if you guys got the lasagna. Man, this thing smells so good right now. Okay, so let's get to it. So we do want to exercise patience when we are quick question, guys. Can you see my full presentation, or can you see yourselves in my little viewpoint, my little view thing?
I see it.
You see the presentation, or you guys too?
Both.
Oh,
Presentation.
okay, cool. So time to eat. We want to make sure we exercise patience, okay? So with that said, we want to wait until everyone at the table is served before we begin eating. Wait till everyone is served before we begin eating. And if you are the last person to receive your food, it is polite to let the other people at the table to say, give them the green light to go ahead and begin eating, and while you wait for your food. Otherwise, they have to wait for you. Okay? All right. Place setting. Do you guys have your stuff all set? I usually have you figure it out, like the best way to place everything. But in this case, because I know you want to eat, go ahead and place your items like this. Your utensils. You've got your salad fork. The reason that I mentioned 3 forks, because we have a salad fork, a place fork or your entree fork, your dessert fork, and you've got your knife, your spoons, all of it's there. So you guys all set up? All set up? Now, what you will often see, I'm gonna bring it back to the screen, but what you'll often see if you're at home normally, it's closer to this, right? So you have a fork, a spoon, a knife, a main plate, and then you have your drinks. So whether you drink from a stemmed glass or a tumbler or a round glass, you've got your drinks, and then sometimes a bread plate, sometimes not. Okay, so this is a normal 3-course table setting. So you guys all set up with your fancy setting here? If you don't have all of the things, it's totally fine. Totally fine. Just wanted to, if you do have them, give you an opportunity to place them all together. Okay, so one of the ways that you'll figure out which fork to use first, because that's usually like, oh my goodness, I've got these forks, I've got all this stuff, and they're not usually laid out like this with labels on them, right? So you don't know what to use first. So one of the tips is that you eat from the, and do this with me, everyone eats from the outside in. We eat from the outside in. So what does that mean? If our salad comes, which fork are we going to use? Not, you don't have to tell me the salad fork. We know that part. But where's it going to be located? Somebody.
Yeah.
The far left.
Yeah, the furthest out, right? That's your first course. And so you can just go from each course in, okay? From the outside in. So that's one of your big tips that you want to take with you, all right? So now that you know which fork to use, let's just say the salad, okay? All right, so I am going to, you guys got your salads? Do you have your salads? You ready? So with our salads, is it okay to use a knife with our salads? Is it okay? I want to hear you. Yes?
No.
No.
Yeah. Sure.
Yes. Okay. Guess what, Sam? I dropped mine too. So it's fine. I have a little arugula here. It's all good. It is all good. All right. It is okay to use your knife with salad. Okay. So what you'll do is we'll start learning our placement of our silverware. So we take our starting position is like this. Okay. Can you see me, everybody? Our starting position is like this. So you take your fork and you have your fork kind of the end of the fork is kind of in your palm, okay? And your index finger is stretched along the top there, okay? And then we have your knife. The top of your knife is, you want to have your index finger on the top of your knife. Okay, ready? And so then we cut times down. These are the times, the little tiny parts of your fork. Those are times. Times down, and then we cut. Okay, when we cut, we bring our knife back to our rib cage. Okay, so we cut, and in American style dining, which we'll start with, we cut, we take our knife with the blade facing us, and we place it diagonally on the top of our plate. Can you see that? Take the knife diagonally on top of your plate. And then you switch hands, and then you bring the food to your mouth. Okay? So it sounds really complicated, but you do it every day, right? So you cut, take a piece of the food, right? Actually, I'm doing something else. You cut, put your knife down, boom, and boom. All right? You guys try that with me. And you can actually eat, by the way. We can start eating. All right? So it's 1, 2, switch, 3, 4. They call it zigzag style eating as well because you switch hands. Okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's American style dining. You can eat along the way while I'm talking, just FYI. So don't feel like you're being rude, like go for it, okay? And then we have, yes, I'm seeing these plates, looking good, looking good. Then we have continental or European style dining, okay? And so try this with me, everybody. We cut, okay, same way. We start this way. We cut and convey. So we eat with the tines down. Okay, for, yes, I see Anthony. All right, we cut and convey. All right, so with that, it sometimes gets a little, our wrist gets a little, so we want to keep our wrists straight. We're gonna sit up straight and we cut, and we can try it. Let's try it without having any food on our forks right quick. Cut, and then bring it up to you, convey. All right, cut and convey. If you see, you'd see my hand and my wrist, and everything is straight. Okay, everything is straight. Jay, I see you. Yes. All right, cut and convey. Good stuff. Yeah, guys over there at Abby's. I see all you guys.
Hey, Naretha, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So I'm a lefty, right?
Uh-huh.
So I mean, so I'm a little different, but so
I'm on the same page, so I do it differently too.
so I can just flip flop, right? I still transfer to the dominant hand and eat, but then I cut with the dominant hand also, right?
Yes. So it used to be that you eat with your right hand, like you just have to. But fortunately, in 2020, things are a little bit. So if you do need to modify, that's fine. However, I would recommend for lefties that continental or European style is perfect because it's all with your left hand, but it's also, I'm right-handed, but it's very comfortable for right-handed people as well. So we cut with your left hand and you just bring it right up and convey. Cut and convey, all right? One thing that you will find is that our knives are tools. Our knives are our helpers, guys. And sometimes we don't think of them that way, but let's try to use our knife as a helper, okay? So on your next bite, take, something, pick up something with your fork, and then help your knife, let your knife guide something onto the fork for you, okay? Like let your knife move and guide things with you, especially with continental dining. The knife is your best friend. So you really you can keep it in your hand because you're usually gonna use that to move something onto the fork. You can also use the knife as a tool with American style dining, okay? All right, let's talk about bread, the best way to eat bread. But before we do that, let's stay on utensils. Okay, so the language of the silver, the language of the silver. So what do you do? What do you do when you are finished eating, right? Or how do you show the wait staff and everyone at the table that you're done? How do you do that? Well, I'll tell you. I'll show you. All right. So with American style dining, and we're just going to keep it super simple. With American style dining, when you are in the process of eating still and you're in between bites, you want to have your utensils down and only have them in your hands when you are using them, okay, to eat. The other thing is we want to avoid using the knife to make our point in the meal, right? So when we're talking, we don't want to do that, okay? The knife or the fork, okay? So keep them down on the table. When you are in the process of eating and you're just taking a break, you place your utensils as you see here, this left picture with the un-American style, okay? So everybody try that right quick. And by the way, you can move on to your entree. You do not have to stay on the salad. If you're done, you can move on to your entree. Okay, so let's use our resting position. That tells everyone, including the wait staff, that we are still eating. We're just taking a break. Okay, then we've got finished position. And this tells everyone at the table and your wait staff that you are done eating. And so you'll see here, it's on, you'll see American style. On the right of American style, the utensils are pointing. The point is at 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and the handles are around 4 o'clock, okay? That's how you show that you are still eating. Does that make sense? So everybody try that. And it's really just as simple as pulling them together like this and just placing them on your plate. Okay? All right, make sense? Yes? Yes? Good. Let's move on to this bread. Yes, you gotta have some bread in your life. So you don't necessarily, but whatever. It's good. So what we want to do, is there a specific way that we eat bread? Yes? No? Is there a specific way that we eat bread? I want to hear ya. Yes.
I don't believe so.
Okay. All right. Well, surprise. There's a specific way that we even eat our bread, and this is how we do it. So we take our bread, whatever kind of bread it is. This happens to be a yummy breadstick, and we break off a bite-sized piece. Okay, we break off a bite-sized piece of our bread. Okay, if we are using butter, we want to take that little a piece of butter. Sometimes it's already individualized for us as far as like the size, like in the shape of a flower or whatever, right? And so you just put that dollop of butter, enough for your whole piece of bread, on your bread plate. Okay, and you saw before where your bread plate is located, and you may be able to see mine here. Okay, it's right diagonally to the left of your plate. Okay, so you take your bread, a bite-sized piece of your bread, you butter that individual piece, take your knife, place it diagonally on your bread plate, okay? And then you eat your piece of bread. Now that seemed like a lot of steps, I know, but it's really simple in real life. So you break off your piece of bread, you butter, boom, 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 and you eat, okay? That's how you do your bread. Okay, we want to make sure that you avoid cutting bread, because you know the rolls when they come around the table. I have definitely been guilty of this. You take the knife, you cut the roll in half, and you get the butter and you slather the whole half with butter, and you take a big bite. Okay, so I'm not alone here. I feel like I'm not alone. It's happened. Okay, so that's not the best practice for bread. So when we're out, we want to make sure that oh, that's a whistle. I thought, Anna, I thought that was pasta. I was like, Okay. Yeah, so we want to make sure that we eat our bread individual bite-sized pieces. Cool? Deal? All right, so I'm going to stop here with my instruction, and I want to hear from you. Tell me what you're thinking. What questions have you always had about dining, and like what's appropriate and what's not at the table, or scenarios you've been in and you have a question about it?
Is there a certain way to hold a wine glass?
Good question. I have one for you just to let you know. Good question. Now, of course, we avoid doing this until we're of age, right? But we are preparing for the future. So, yes, there is a specific way to use your wine glass. Now, this happens to be a red wine glass, and we know that because the bowl of the glass is large down here. That's another conversation for another day, but now you know. So we hold it by the stem. If it is a stemmed glass, we hold the glass by the stem, okay? We try not to do a claw. We want to hold it with the ends of our fingers, okay? Now, red wine and white wine glasses can be held differently. Why do you think we hold glasses with a stem by the stem? That's a question.
So the wine doesn't get warmed up
Come on, that's
by your
right.
hand.
Yes, that's right, Latrell. Right on. So white wine is usually served chilled or cold, okay? And so you definitely want to hold it by the stem with a white wine. With a red wine, some people do hold it by the bowl of the glass because red wine is mostly served room temperature, and it's okay if it gets warm. But for general purposes, hold your wine glass like this by the stem. Good question. Thanks, Jay. Yes. Anthony?
How do you think the best way to posture yourself? Like, is there a certain way to posture yourself during lunch or dinner with someone else?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely not like I'm doing right now. Okay. So we want to make sure that we sit up straight. We want to avoid leaning back in the chair. Okay, your back should not touch the back of the chair. You want to lean up straight, okay, and not lean, just sit up straight. We want to bring the food to us versus go down to it, okay? So we want to bring our food up to us, okay? Does that make sense? Also, speaking of bringing things to us, we're going to talk about soup right quick, okay? So I'm going to give you an example of soup. Now, let's just say I'm not going to hold it in real life. I'm not going to hold the bowl, but I'm going to do this so that you can see it. Is there a specific way that we eat soup? But of course there's a specific way we eat soup. So what we'll do is we take our spoon, we hold it like a pencil, okay? We hold our spoon like a pencil and we sail away. We sail away from us versus bringing it up this way, okay? We sail away and we eat soup in 4 easy steps. It is 1, 2, 3, and sip from the side, 4. Can you see that, guys? 1, 2, 3, and sip from the side. Cool? All right, any questions about soup? I will say try not to blow on your soup because you could end up giving your neighbor a soup shower. So we want to avoid that. If you want to cool the soup down, kind of move it just a little bit in your bowl to get some air flowing, but you want to make sure that we try to make this as quiet of a process, our eating as quiet of a process as possible. So we want to avoid this. We want to avoid having our utensils hitting the table as much as possible. It happens, it's fine, but we want to avoid it, okay? Any other questions? Okay, so I have like a tip for you that I've had so many hiring managers and CEOs look me in the eye, and these are like unsolicited, right? I have had people look me in the eye and say, Naretha, I will not hire someone if they season their food before they taste it. What? I will not hire someone if they season their food before they taste it. Why do you think they would say that? That's random. You guys tell me, why do you think that? Unmute.
Because they come to conclusions?
Yes, that's one. That's one. What else?
Disrespectful to the chef.
Come on. Yes. Have we done this before? Good. Awesome. 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 I saw something in the chat. Okay. Yes. Excuse me. Okay. Awesome. Yes. So the reasons are, one, you make decisions before you've gotten the facts. 2, it says that you're rigid in thought. And 3, it is disrespectful to the chef. That's exactly right, guys. So it is something so small that makes such a big difference. It makes such a big difference, and people will not hire. Some people have not gotten hired or gotten sales positions or the sale if you are out with someone and you just do something as simple as season your food before you taste it. Same thing with condiments. So, ketchup, barbecue sauce, all of those things, you want to keep them to a minimum. 2 things that I want to make sure I cover before we go. We have a short amount of time. I do want to turn it to Mr. H to see if there's anything that you want to make sure that we touch before we head out.
No, I think you've covered a lot. The only thing I'll have to ask before we log off is we need to get some type of fun group photograph, of course. I think maybe it'd be like a fun little cheers to Miss Hobson, something like that.
Awesome.
Let's
Awesome.
do
One question.
Let's do that first, then we can ask the final questions, okay? So
Cool.
let's all hold up our glass, whatever you've got. A fun little cheers to, this is gonna, hold on, I gotta get this fixed up. My bad. I'm old, I can't hold a phone at the same time and take a picture. All right, here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3, cheers. Okay, thank you. And then, yeah, we have a few minutes left for any last minute questions. Feel free to ask.
Okay, go for it.
I was wondering, like, if you're eating a sandwich or something, can you use your hands, or do you have to like cut the sandwich?
Good question. So yes, thank you. That was actually one of the things I was going to talk about. If you do choose a sandwich, or hopefully not a burger in a business setting, but if you are in a formal setting, a business setting, yeah, no, actually, you should not use your hands. So I normally, if I get a sandwich, I ask for them to cut it in quarters before, in the back, right? So when you order it, you can ask for them to cut it in quarters for you. Once they have cut it in quarters, then that makes it easier for you to cut small pieces. And I start from the little point, and then you can start eating back from the point, but technically you are not supposed to pick up the sandwich with your hands. Good question. Good question. How do you properly make a toast? I thought you bang on the side of the glass with a knife. Oh, good question. Yeah, so to properly make a toast, I know in the movies, we see everyone, and actually in real life, because we see it in the movies all the time, people bang on the side of the glass, right? And they say, I'd like to have everyone's attention, ding, 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 right? Actually, that is not proper etiquette, okay? So it's better to stand and say, I would like to propose a toast, or may I have everyone's attention, and hold your glass up, right? May I have everyone's attention, or attention, please? I would like to propose a toast. And so then that gets everyone's attention. You may have to stand and wait for a few minutes for everybody to catch on, and then you go ahead and speak. One of the reasons that we avoid hitting the side of the glass with a knife is that if it is a thinner glass or crystal, you could break the glass, right? And that just takes away from the vibe of of the reason that you're toasting. Okay, if you are ever the honoree of a toast, quick question: should you drink at the end? Quick question, hurry! We don't have a lot of time.
Yes.
Actually, if someone is toasting to you, you just graciously stand there, or you sit there and you do a nod and you do a thank you, but you never want to toast to yourself. That means if you drink, that means you're toasting to yourself. So you can say, salute or thank you, but avoid drinking if the toast is specifically to you. Also, avoid clapping for yourself if people are clapping for you. Now, in our real lives, we clap for ourselves every day, right? Because we encourage ourselves. We are our best cheerleaders. However, in one of those situations, you just sit there and graciously accept the applause. We have like 30 seconds. Really, we don't, but what?
Yeah, there's one more question in the chat. That'd be great, and then we'll wrap
Okay,
up.
cool. Question in the chat?
It's what's the proper amount of food you should have on your fork when you're
Good.
eating a bite?
All right. Just enough for the bite. So hopefully it's not enough, to take up all of the times so that you can eat off of, about the half of the fork versus like having to try to put the whole fork in your mouth because you've got a lot of food on it. So just enough for a small bite. Okay. Good stuff. We want to also make sure that when we are ordering, that we stay away from items that you have to use your fingers and that have red sauce and things like that as well. Okay. And if you have to use your fingers, you know that you'll need to use a fork and knife with them. Okay, so that's pizza, burgers, all that stuff, ribs. Okay. All right. Well, it has been a pleasure. You guys are a lot of fun. I appreciate your time and your energy today, everybody being prepared. And I look forward to hearing about an amazing year of good things, with you guys, okay? If you have any questions or anything, feel free, like I said before, email me. You can reach out to Mr. H or anybody within your schools, within the CAPS program. I'm always here for you. And I hope to see you again soon.
All right, thanks. All right, I'm gonna fix that real quick. All right, so thanks again for joining us. We really appreciate it. Everyone have a good weekend. I'll do you guys. You stick it on. Or you guys out of here for the day too.
Mazel tov.
Lydia, you can be done for the day. I'll give you a little weekend present.
Thank you. Have